Hello, and welcome to this session. It is one of the most interesting sessions in many ways, most difficult, most unique. We all know what Ukraine is going through, and one type of resistance is actually continuing with life. One type of resistance and fighting is indeed to carry on with our projects, carry on with what we are doing. And despite all the difficulties, despite everything that is happening around us, and I think the Ukrainians are doing a fantastic job of that. I can't imagine what the circumstances they're living under are, but I'm very proud and very delighted to be joined by two people who have been working on PPP in Ukraine, who are amazingly experienced. They have slightly different roles in Ukraine, and they will talk about that and what they do. But having them with us is just a delight. Nico, Taras, we are all supportive of what you guys are doing. We trust that PPP will play an important role in the rebuilding of Ukraine's economy. And we trust that there will be a lot of investment that will flow into Ukraine after the hostilities cease. We have seen this happen in some countries, and there are ways to deal with PPP, even in conflict zones. So I think you are going to be in good shape. We have been joined by Dr. Ayub Vural-Aydin, who is the WAPPP chair of the CIS countries. Dr. Ayub, maybe just a very quick word so that Nico and Taras can go through their presentations.
Thank you very much, Ziad, and congratulations for a great event. And I would like to thank you, Taras and Nico, to join us to participate WAPPP annual event. And we were working PPP issues with Taras 2017 in Istanbul. And so far, there are a lot of things in Ukraine, and I hope we will do a lot of PPP projects together as well in Ukraine again, Taras. I think we will start with Nico, if I'm not wrong. So, Nico, last year we were together in Istanbul. And I know there are a lot of things that you would like to share with us, and we are very excited to listen you both, Nico and Taras. And the floor is yours, Nico. Nico, can you unmute your? We cannot hear you. No, I think there's a problem. Duty is there? Yeah. Now maybe your headphones is a problem.
Nico's audio was working very well till we joined the session live. So I'm not sure what happened.
Sorry, do you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Ziad. Thank you to you for that introduction. It's a really great honor to be here. It's always very interesting event. It was very interesting last year when I participated in my speech, but now it's even more interesting. A lot of new themes, a lot of new topics were discussed already during these first 2 days. I would like to share a very quick overview of our today's situation in Ukraine, what we have been doing for the last year, let's discuss, for several years. So Ukraine from 2017 has been working very systematically to ensure the sustainable development and implementation of the PPP mechanism according to all international best practices. Government of Ukraine has made PPP is one of the main priorities, and it is very significantly enlisted in economic stimulus program for 2022 to counteract the negative effect of the COVID-19. Also in the national strategy for up to 2030, and in the new plan, Recovery and Development Plan for Ukraine, that is currently being developed and currently being developed. An important step towards the development of the people first approach in Ukraine has been the creation of the new legislation. New law of Ukraine on concession was adopted on October 20, 2019, and it is a balance of all the PPP stakeholders mechanism in order to modernize infrastructure and improve quality of social services. The law also amends around 15 other legislative acts that was in order for the concessions and PPPs to be in line with all other legislation, including law of Ukraine of public-private partnership. After those adoption of the law of Ukraine on concession, Ministry of Economy, together with the experts from the World Bank, have been actively working on secondary legislation on the field of PPPs to make at last the new approaches to work. It is, Cabinet of Ministers decrees and ministerial orders. More than 15 legislative acts has been approved in 2024. Moreover, new legislation have already been provided opportunities for new PPP projects to develop. For example, in second half of 2019, the Ukrainian government, with support of EBRD and IC, have held two first transparent concession tenders of ports Olbia and Kherson. And in summer 2020, Ministry of Infrastructure have signed the concession agreements, and finally, in last year, the objects can be fully transferred to the concessionaire. Next slide. First 2 months of the 2022 was very productive in regards to the development of the PPP framework in Ukraine. For example, Parliament of Ukraine has adopted in the second reading the amendments to budget code that introduces a long-term financial obligations related to the availability payment in budget legislation. Also, Cabinet of Ministers has adopted a regulation that will help to clarify mechanism involving advisors via tender to provide services and of concession project preparation, and also regulation to establish procedure for concession and tender and competitive dialogue conducting in electronic tracking system. Also, PPP agency together with the Ministry of Economy have developed and with support of the World Bank have developed methodology of PPP efficiency analysis that will help to establish the rules of the PPP preparation and efficiency analysis in line with the best international practices. Just very quick description in regards to the amendments to the budget code, that this bill was one of the fundamental legislative innovations that will help the government to take long-term to provide financing of long-term liabilities involving PPP projects. From now on, government support for a private partner will going to be guaranteed and will for all the length of the PPP project. It is very crucial because all all social projects, infrastructure projects are demanding on good long-term obligations from the public side. And because our budget system is only for 3 years, all these projects was very hard to prepare. In regards to the methodology, this was an order that was prepared in line with best international practices. It helps to establish the concept of the all significant documents, starting from concept note, feasibility study, financial model, to the rules of the execution of the cost-benefit analysis, to value for money, public sector comparator, and for the conducting market sounding and consultation with public investors. It is very good that at last we have such kind of recommendations, because it will really help prepare and go forward with the preparation of the projects. One more step of the development of the PPP framework of Ukraine was the creation of the PPP agency. That was created under the Ministry of Economy to support public entities in the preparation and implementation of the PPP projects. The PPP agency is seen as a center of excellent expertise for the public authorities in order for them to prepare good and investive, attractive PPP projects. The PPP main functions is identification of the potential PPP projects, preparation for the concept notes, feasibility study, preparation of the tender documentation, of the organizing of the trainings and conferences for the popularization and rising institutional capacity, and providing consultations and advice to the public sector on PPP issues, and support in the PPP project structuring and development of the PPP content. Starting from our operation, we have started around 20 projects on different stages. We have had 2 big plans on them, and we have had big plans on the preparation of them. There had been big plans with the EBRD and AFC on the development of the road program together with Ministry of Infrastructure. Also, there were big plans on the ports, following the good, very good concessions of the Olbia and Kherson port, and also in the healthcare department. But unfortunately, at the end of 24th of February, the Russian Federation has invaded Ukraine, and we will need to address new challenges that have arisen also in our department. Direct losses of the Ukraine's infrastructure result of the Russian aggression have been already reached more than $100 billion, and indirect losses of the whole economy is about 600 billion. This is just approximate list of the infrastructure that has been already damaged or destroyed during this first 3 months of the aggression. And we see that PPP can be a very good and effective mechanism to support the development of such infrastructure. We understand that the PPP, we understand that there are some problems with the usage of the PPP mechanism, and there is a lot of opportunities during the restoration of the Ukrainian infrastructure. So the first, we need to understand the context, to understand the urgent need for resettlement, provision of the basic services and facilities, and the need to do it quickly. That can complicate the situation later. It is very important to plan in advance what kind of infrastructure and where exactly should be done. We need to start rethinking the future of our country because planning new functional, spatial, and logistical infrastructure with more efficient use of land, energy, and resources. We need to work very hardly to attract all possible financial resources and use effective insurance tools and guarantees to provide proper projects preparation. We need to have strategic planning and integration of the new infrastructure for the future needs of the country, taking account the needs of the state in defense and security, perspective directions of the business development, new distribution of the population of the territory of Ukraine, one of the principles of spatial functionality, planning and territory. We need also to use this opportunity to create new generation of infrastructure using modern technologies that are resistant to climate change and provide protection against all possible aggressions in future. We will open opportunities for comfortable living and business development. Why we think PPP is an effective mechanism for such reconstruction? Because it will allow to access to create critical public and municipal infrastructure in installments, as we can say it, using long-term liabilities to reimburse investments for public sector, like availability-based PPPs. It's also a very great tool to mobilizing the potential of the private sector in creating new generation of infrastructure, new technologies, efficiency, innovation, flexibility, sensitivity, and better address urgent needs of reconstruction and creation of the modern innovation facility. It's really improving the ability to use investments in a timely and effective manner without additional costs due to independence of the level of return in investments on key performances indicators and others. It will provide the opportunity to provide most of the risk and responsibilities to private partners for the entire period of operation of infrastructure to ensure effective management at both stages, from construction to operation and return to the public partner. And possibility to set requirement for authorizations for type of works, goods, and materials to intensify the development of Ukraine's economy. And integration of the leading international companies in Ukraine, ensuring value for money, efficient use of funds, as well as transfer of skills, innovations that will lay for its foundation for the recovery and long-term economic growth of Ukraine. And in the last but not the least, ensuring the donor confidence. The funds provided to Ukraine will be used for effective reconstruction, reliable provision of critical service, coverage of the daily government expenditures. It will also allow donors to participate in the long-term development infrastructure of Ukraine. And what are the main priorities for the successful use of the PPP in Ukraine? First, clear and understandable list of viable projects. We think that we need to prepare and present the clear and very the transparent list of the projects that will restoration projects that will help to provide for the potential investors understanding what exactly the needs of the Ukraine. The second is standardized procedure for preparation of the PPP projects. In order for due to such great amount of infrastructure that already been damaged, we need simplified procedures for preparation of the PPP projects that will be included in the list, and preparation of the sample packages of tender documentations and contracts for the projects in various fields. We also need transparent procedures for selecting investments through electronic trading system, and involvement of the advisors in preparing restoration projects. because on the involvement of IFI as a strategic advisor to the government of Ukraine to participate in all steps of the project's preparation and implementation will guarantee the good level of the infrastructure that will be in there. Thank you. Now I would like to give the floor to Taras. He will say more about the electronic trading scheme that we are developing together with our partners.
Yeah, thank you, Nico, so much for your presentation. I will share my screen and we'll go ahead with my presentation. So just briefly introduce myself. My name is Taras Vuchuk. I'm leading the group of advisors in the Ministry of Infrastructure. I've been working with all pilots, which my colleague just briefly presented to you in the infrastructure sector. So we work on pilot seaport concession projects, pilot airport concession projects, pre-feasibility preparation, as well as we started in October and December last year. We started a new preparation of a new project in seaport sector, and as well as 2 pilot road PPPs, working with my colleagues in Ukraine Road Agency and the Ministry of Infrastructure. I would like just to go into some details about the digital platform for PPPs, which we're thinking about in order to proceed with good and very efficient reconstruction of Ukrainian infrastructure in a post-war period. Of course, we understand that at this point of time, we cannot use this instrument, but we hope that in coming months, the things will become better and we will be able to continue with preparation of the first projects for recovery. So this e-procurement project started in 2019 with the support of European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And it covered 2 technical supports. One was focused on e-concessions, on development of legal framework, technical concept, policy paper. This work was done by our team. And also CIF source integration in Ukraine. As you know, CIF source is platform for the project preparation and contract management, the global initiative. And the aim of this work was to integrate CIF source platform in Ukraine, and together with electronic platform for e-concession, it was envisaged that this particular platform will give us an end-to-end process where we are starting the PPP project in CIF source, using the localized and integrated timelines for Ukraine. Then we are moving to national procurement system called Prozoro, and we are having the tender, the PPP tender there, with the market consultations and different options for the tender. Then after this contract is signed, we are moving back to CIF source for Ukraine and for the purposes of the contract management and performance of the service performance and handback. This concept has been developed, agreed with the government, approved by the government, and there was a respective resolution about that. and we were on our way to the IT development of this tool. But of course, Russian invasion significantly changed the priorities, and we do understand that user pay concessions, unfortunately, we cannot use and we cannot rely on them in all sectors. But the government pay PPPs, as we see, these are better suited for the infrastructure rehabilitation project. So here you can see how we see the target PPP project, PPP structure. So it's government pay PPP with co-financing of the CAPEX by grants from donors, and also from the state and local governments. So we think that the best way to structure that would be to cooperate with EU fund, where the EU fund can provide the grants, and the state or local budget could cover the rest by paying the private partner performance-based availability payments during 10 or 15 years during the operation period. Of course, we do understand that in order to implement this type of structure, we will need insurance products to satisfy the interests of lenders and equity investors. That's why we are thinking about establishing the war insurance packages in different forms. It might be the international agreement and establishment of international entity, which will provide insurance products which are not available on Ukrainian market and will not be available on Ukrainian market for the next 5 or 10 years. That different experience we studied. So Israel experience, USA experience of some Latin American countries. So we really think that in case we will have a good working insurance instrument, and also the good regulation for contingent liabilities in order to satisfy the guarantees and provide the guarantees to lenders in case of default of operator, we could succeed with attracting private investors to rehabilitation of infrastructure. But we're not talking only about the rehabilitation of infrastructure, we're also talking about building a new type of infrastructure which will need to serve new needs of Ukrainian economy. A lot of different infrastructure objects should be built near EU border in order to guarantee that Ukrainian grain export and other export will be easily transferred to all the destinations in Europe, Africa, and Asia. So that's why we're not talking about not only about rehabilitation of destroyed infrastructure, but also about construction of a new infrastructure objects. So we are thinking about some simplified procedure for the post-war rehabilitation, which will be used only to the projects which will be included to the special list. So it means that the regular procedure will still exist and will apply to the regular projects which will not be linked to recovery of the state or rehabilitation of the infrastructure. But for this particular list of projects which will be listed using the expertise of IFIs, donors, experts, and the Ministry of Economy together with a PPP agency, this list will be established. It's something which my colleague just briefly told, that we need a good list of projects which can be procured as a PPP. Then we would like to have in order to speed up the process of budgeting, we would like to have the benchmarks in order to estimate the capex and opex for different types of projects. We do have such kind of benchmarks for roads in Ukraine, and we can also develop the same benchmark costs for all other types of infrastructure, of course, using the international prices and link them to hard currency such as euro or US dollar. We do understand that we need to have a good relationships with the market, and the market should make the final decision whether or not particular project is ready to be procured as a PPP. So that's why the market consultations is a key, and only on the basis of market consultation, the decision whether or not to procure the project using the PPP instrument will be made. Also, there is an idea to prepare a sectoral tender committees at the state level, and also the centralized municipal committees, in order to have all the expertise in one committee, and in order to have one common practice for the same pieces of infrastructure. Also, it's envisaged that international financial institutions will support Ukraine with development of the recommended templates of the tender documents for each and every type of projects. So it will depend on the scope, whether it will be DBFOM, DBFM projects in different sectors. And these recommendations to templates will be used as a basis. And of course, the electronic contract administration and electronic procurement system should be developed in order to simplify everything that could be simplified based on our experience and best practices, and which we have. And all this, if we will put all these together, we think that there is a high chance that running the transparent tender, which is in line with EU directives, we will get a good market feedback for that. So indeed, we would like to introduce the ESPD approach for qualification and of the potential candidates, and to check their exclusion grounds. Also, there is already developed multi-criteria evaluation tool, which could be used in order to make it as transparent as it can be. And of course, everything which is linked to smart e-contract, online project and contract registers, online reporting and monitoring, which will be fully transparent and accessible by donors and by potential investors. We would like to introduce this kind of system. We think that on this slide you can see how we see the structure of this electronic system, and we would like to develop this IT tool in line with EU directives, and to introduce all things that we have, all the best practices into this system. So it will be end-to-end system when we are starting with the pre-tendering preparation, then we are going to tendering and online contract register, and where each and every candidate will have their electronic online cabinet. They will submit all their documents online, so without any paperwork. And of course, the automated evaluation, of course, to the extent possible. We do understand that there might be some technical things that should be checked by the tender committee, but we would like to use the best practices also from IFI procurements and procurements of other countries, how to make it as transparent and fair as it should be. And also in the end, in this electronic tool, we will go to the contract administration, and the project team, contract management team, could work on a financial close and some pre-project activities, construction and O&M, and to handle all the work there using the upgraded functionalities of SIFSource, which are already integrated with Ukrainian unique timelines. And we hope that this end-to-end system will deliver a lot of benefits to all participants. So make the tender very transparent and in line with EU directives and best practices. So this is all from my side. Thank you so much for your attention, and I would be happy to answer all the questions to which you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Taras, Nico. We have some questions from the audience. So if you want, I can just put them up one by one on the stage so that you can see.
Yes, methodology is available on our website, pppagency.me.gov.ua, or on the website of the Ministry of Economy. It's the official order of the Ministry of Economy, so it should be published. According to our legislation, should be published on the official website. It definitely will be a very significant issue. Maybe Taras, you can more elaborate on this issue, your connection to the ministry.
Yeah. Thank you, Nico. So indeed, we do understand that we will need to integrate Ukrainian infrastructure with EU infrastructure. And at this point of time, we are putting together the recovery plan, as Nico mentioned. And in the recovery plan, there is a huge amount of projects which are linked to a cross-border infrastructure in Ukraine, so both rail infrastructure and road infrastructure, as well as dry ports there and additional warehouses. So everything which is needed and where we see the constraints and bottlenecks. So we know what in what particular places we do have these constraints. And the Ministry of Infrastructure, working with all other agencies, also working on that, as well as on the development of Ukrainian seaports, which are working. I'm talking about UNIP seaports. So the infrastructure there is also required a lot of investments in order to have a better connection with Romania, Bulgaria, and other countries of the region and European Union as well. So this work is ongoing, and the projects are already identified. And the next step would be to put efforts to do in order to develop the pre-feasibility studies. Yeah, thank you, Andres, for that question. So indeed, we think that for this particular type of projects, we will have a pass-fail criteria for technical part, for technical evaluation criteria, and for financial evaluation criteria. There might be 1, 2, or 3 components of the evaluation criteria, but in the end of the day, it would be all of them will be linked to price. So for the recovery projects, we really think about the structure where we have pass-fail criteria for technical part, for technical envelope, and for the financial envelope, we will have 1, 2, or 3 criteria of a financial nature. Thank you.
Nico, Taras, we have 2 questions on unsolicited proposals. So I'm just going to put one of them on the stage.
Unsolicited proposals have been already very significantly established in our legislation. We have provided the support for them in regards to the refunding of the preparation costs for the preparation of the project if they haven't won the tender, and the Swiss challenge that they can sign a contract with the best proposal during the tender. If you're talking about the reconstruction of the reconstruction plan, the list of the projects that will have will be very fast and standardized. Here, we don't think that we will need a big amount of the unsolicited proposal, but it's still in the discussions. So I can't give you answers for this part.
I can answer this question. Yeah, thank you. Indeed, we would like to introduce some modifications, but these modifications will help us just to speed up the process of the project preparation, structuring, and tendering. So in other ways, everything will be prepared simultaneously, because they are some kind of projects which require a lot of which are very important for the national economy. So we don't have a lot of time to just wait and to develop very complicated technical feasibility studies or things like that. So we will simplify the procedure significantly. But when we talk about regular projects, they will follow the regular procedure. When we talk about simplified one, we think that we can do the project for 7 or 11 months. It depends on the sector. So in a simplified mode.
All right, I would just hand over to Ayub for his closing remarks, because we are almost out of time. A really pleasure to have you both, and wonderful questions. Questions are still coming. Obviously, people are curious. Over to you, Ayub.
Thank you, Juliette, Taras, and Nico. Thank you for your joining to our annual events. And I hope next week we will be together. And I hope very soon we will do PPP projects in the region, in Ukraine as well. So I am really excited to work with both of you. And if you need anything from WAPPP, from the presentation, we will provide all those things, and from me itself. So hope to see you next time. Again, thank you very much for your contribution and valuable participation. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Taras.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.